County Legislature's Law Committee. I guess as a first item on the agenda, we will take roll.
Kuhn.
Here.
Reedy.
Here.
Feeney.
Here.
Larillier.
Here.
McLaughlin.
Here.
Pulaski.
Here.
Ricard.
Present.
Bergdorf.
Here.
And Curley.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Great, thank you so much. First item on the agenda is approving the previous meeting's minutes. Can I have any
Make a
motion?
motion.
Mr. Reedy,
Second.
Feeney, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We are going to take items 22 and 23 out of order. Here to present on those is Jeff Jameson, the Albany County Attorney. First, we'll do item 22, which is authorizing agreements regarding Albany County insurance coverage. Mr. Jameson, floor is yours.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairman Kuhn and legislators. I appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you today. Earlier today, I submitted a memo to the chair drafted by Eugenia Condon, and basically providing that some of the numbers that we currently have as it relates to updates for next year's premiums, we are still missing some numbers. So that memo does provide some of the numbers. However, there are three that are outstanding, the package number and the excess carriers. We received a number today. I believe it was based in error, so I don't want to provide that number. As soon, and by the way, it did go out to market on June 1st, so it's 60 days, and it's still delayed. My understanding is that this sometimes happens. It's unfortunate, but we are here today. I know there's like a August 15th kind of deadline that we have to get it finished, and so that's why we're asking that we have a tentative approval as long as we give you the numbers that we have prior to the next meeting.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Bergdorf?
I don't have any, don't see any numbers. What are we voting? What are, we've always been given whatever they had as of the date of the meeting.
You're on Granicus.
They are on Granicus, okay? Memo to
Mr.
chair,
James,
okay.
do you
When
have
I looked, it was not there before.
So as I said, if you're looking at it now, there are some numbers that we're still waiting, which are the three larger one package, which is inclusive. It's basically, we're self-insured for the first million, it's the $1 to $5 million number, and then the excess carriers, the next $5 million and the next 10. We are awaiting those numbers. It has been 60 days that we've been awaiting them, expected to be in momentarily.
Which, I'm having trouble with the graph, I'm sorry, Jeff. Which ones do we have new numbers for?
We have a new number for pollution. That's a new number that's up 0.4%. I don't know if crime is filled in, but because that's under an existing policy, so there's no change in that.
Well, it's listed in the memo as property, boiler, and machinery, crime, okay, crime. It shows what's expiring in crime.
Yeah, but I don't believe that that's expiring now, meaning that's continuing on. So you see that there's 5414 in the memo. We have another year.
4514,
Yeah, we have another year left on that. So if you notice, we have some decreases in some of the insurance, cybersecurity, and that is, I think in large part because of Chief Information Officer Patrick Alderson and the great job that he actually has been doing with all of our cybersecurity. And so because of that, even in light of the current environment, our numbers have gone down. However, I do want to say, and I don't want to be overly optimistic because the large numbers that we don't have back are the larger numbers of the package. So as soon as they come back, we will get them to you.
So, procedurally, I'm a little unclear. We don't have the numbers yet to approve?
We do not have the numbers as it relates to the excess commercial general automobile liability enforcement package. That's the large package. That's the number one premium. The excess after that. So that premium covers us from 1 million to 5 million. Then the excess, which would be the umbrella after that, which is 5 to 10 million, and then there's another umbrella after that, which is 10 million to 20 million. Those numbers have not come in.
Okay, it's being explained to me that the ordinary cadence of this is that we do sometimes move this out without the numbers being finalized. We get those final numbers prior to the ultimate vote of everybody that actually counts. And so I guess that's what we would be doing for a few of these policies, is moving out our approval subject to final information on the premiums for these 3 policies. Is that?
That's how it was explained to me.
Okay.
I'm not, I don't, you're the chairperson of the law committee, and so if there's something different, I understand that. We have to wait and have another meeting. I would be happy to come back. But I don't want to misrepresent and provide numbers that I don't have.
Council explains to me that the coverage expires on the 15th of August.
Yes.
So I think there's some urgency here.
Mr. Chairman.
Doctor, hold on,
I'm sorry.
I see you.
Okay.
Dr. McLaughlin.
Thank you. So the previous practice has been to go ahead, approve the legislation, and then when the new numbers come in, we update. That's previous practice. So now you're but you just threw something else in there when you said it expires on the 15th. That's a little troublesome to me, that the current policy expires on the 15th. And we have, so we're gonna
The
go by.
meeting's on the 11th.
On the 11th. So what numbers are we going to go by? Are we going to go by the old numbers, or are we going to?
We will have the new numbers before the legislative meeting. We can't vote on something where the numbers are not there.
Okay, that was my
At the
final
legislative
question.
meeting.
Okay.
It's
thank you.
traditionally, for at least the last 5 years, we've moved it out of this committee without
okay.
all the final numbers. But they all will be in place before the legislative meeting, or we won't be
But
able
we
to.
can anticipate having the numbers by the meeting.
Yes.
I'm hopeful that one of the numbers will be in within this week, and once the package is in, the access should be shortly thereafter.
Okay, Mr.
Thank you.
Mr. Ricardo.
Thank you. Jeff, just a couple questions. So,
Sure.
well, and maybe Rebecca can answer this. So can we just extend the existing policy for a couple weeks? You can't do that? Okay, you can't do that. Do you have any idea what it's going to be? What if it comes in $5 million more, ridiculous example, than it currently is? What do we do then?
Well, I guess there's 2 options. I mean, so right now, we're out to market, meaning we have a broker, right? So we have a broker, Gallagher's a broker, they're putting it out to market, people are bidding on it, they're coming back, and they're trying to select the lowest that we can get. Some of these have been lower, right, that you see that some of these premiums have been lower. I am not optimistic that for the package cost that it's gonna be lower. And I don't wanna, and that's why I said, I don't wanna give you any false numbers before they come in, but, I have some concerns based upon different trends, the environment, things that are happening, not just here, but in New York State. So I say that, I was just looking, we may have a few more employees. I don't think our payroll is up though, is it?
No, payroll's roughly the same, we have a little bit more real property.
We have more real property, but we actually did make an adjustment for our real property, meaning we have more coverage. And that is, I think, identified actually within the memo. So there was an assessment of real property, it was increased. the premium is a reflection of that.
Okay.
Jeff, do you have any reason to think for these three, I guess, three policies that you don't have final quotes from yet? Do you have any reason, has our broker told us, is there any reason to think that the premiums will be materially greater than they were last year?
I think that we'll see an increase in those three. And well, I would say, I don't know about the excess, but I would say that I think that there's going to be an increase in the package, right? The package meaning the excess commercial, general automobile, law enforcement.
Okay,
I have one more question though.
okay,
Just,
sorry, go ahead.
so we go to the meeting on the 11th, right? Do we have a special law committee meeting?
No?
So the whole body approves that? We don't go back to say, well, that's too much?
No, we don't do that.
Yeah, Mr. Berdorf.
I don't want to say that people's recollection isn't complete, but we have had this happen multiple times. I've been on this committee for 10 years, and what we've always generally done is given people a flavor for where the numbers are that we have, and we have had either a post-public hearing law committee meeting where we are given the full numbers. In this case, it would be on the 11th before anything expires. I personally am unwilling to have it be in the public record that we just say, yeah, go ahead, whatever it is, we'll pay for it, without knowing what the numbers are. That's not a good message to send to the insurance committees, the insurance community. It's not a good message to send to your broker, especially when we can accomplish everything by keeping the broker and the insurers under pressure so that we have something to review on the 11th before we pass anything.
Right. Well,
And that has happened before. So when people say we've always sent it out of here not knowing anything, that's actually not accurate in a number of instances.
Okay, here, I'll hopefully construct a compromise here. We're not approving it, as you know, and from a legal perspective tonight, we're just moving it out to tee it up to allow, obviously, it's the full legislature that has to approve it. If we were to approve it tonight to move it out, subject to not having final numbers on these three policies, those numbers will be provided to us before the meeting on the 11th. If someone, any member of this committee, has an objection or feels like further discussion is necessary, after we get those numbers, we will reconvene. But I think it's okay to push these out on a contingent basis. What I'm hearing is that there's no reason to believe that there will be objectionable increases, but that's obviously subject to some unknown things. So if we do get those, if you or anybody wants to reconvene to talk about them, we will do so. Okay? And then we can amend our reporting out as necessary.
That's fine, that is
Okay.
fine with me, but somehow, I know that we are also in a position where is Gallagher still the broker of record?
They are.
And where are they in their cycle of service to the county? They were a 3-year deal, and then it was going to be re-procured.
Well, it went to CAB and they were approved as the broker of record
And when was that?
this year.
Yeah, I can't remember what one.
How can CAB approve Gallagher for millions of dollars of insurance payments?
They're not. They're not.
But what-
They're not the,
what do
they're
we-
not, they're not the
But
insurance agent.
they get a commission on every one of these policies. They're being paid well over $250,000. So I'm not sure that that's even a legal use of CAB.
Well, that's your
I mean,
opinion,
I'm
that's not
just-
mine,
But we're not approving,
so.
we're approving the, whether commission will end up being tied to through, through the legislature.
Well,
not
I guess
through
what
CAB.
I'm hearing is that we have redone the procurement for insurance brokerage services, and they've been re-engaged by CAB.
Yeah, there's no monetary value that's being paid directly to them from Albany County that is greater than
Yeah,
Calhoun's.
if a premium is $4 million and the broker of record gets 10%, they're making Albany County tax dollars, okay? So, you know, to say that they're not making over $200,000.
You're saying they're making it on some other entity.
No, they're making it on the policy that they have brokered, that they have a direct commission for. I mean, you know, I really don't care that much, but one of the things that Eugenia told us was that this was going to be discussed with them as to why they could not provide us with numbers on time for our cycle. And that was supposed to be readdressed in their, in what was going to be a re-RFP for brokerage services. And I guess what I'm hearing now is we've gone through the RFP, and evidently, I don't know, Eugenia's not here. I don't know whether that was discussed or not, but we're back in the same boat. And I think we should make an effort to make sure that this isn't the case in the future, that, you know, if our insurance expires on August 15th, we have numbers in time for this, or maybe we should be looking for another broker.
Okay.
Because, you know, history repeating itself, if you put your head in the sand, it's going to continue to repeat itself. And, you know, this was something that we were going to deal with.
I will let you know when the next RFP is out, and I'll tell you what, I will provide it to you, and if you know anybody that wants to respond to it, by all means, let them respond. I hope that's helpful. As to this, I just want to make sure that we're on topic on here.
Right, we're not debating
Right,
the program.
well, so I think, Mr. Bergdorf, obviously your comments are duly noted, but I think we've offered up a sort of a compromise with respect to the fact that we don't have all the final figures here. I'm ready to proceed on that basis, so can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Item 23, authorizing the agreement with West Publishing Corporation regarding Westlaw Legal Research Services software.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, happy to be here on behalf of the Law Department and all other the departments as it relates to our Westlaw contract. This contract is up at the end of the year. We would have to be renewing that contract. With the existing services that we had, that contract would renew at a rate of around $16,400. I had met with Westlaw earlier in the year on several different times to look at other platforms that they have, including AI Precision and CoCounsel. And the reason for that is that these are the services, the Westlaw services that are being used by the courts and many other firms as well. I had then had a conversation with the District Attorney's Office, Public Defender's Office, Conflict Defender's Office, Counsel to the Chair, and you know, ourselves at the Law Department to see what level of interest. So the new rate would be $19,990, which essentially is about $3,600 more a month for the additional service. However, if we approve it now, we get from July 1, which we've already got essentially, we get the upgrade. So we're receiving the benefit now until the end of the year, the services which we'll actually be getting next year. That was just kind of a thing that I wanted to make sure that we were able to get, so I tried to negotiate that. The price was a little bit less than the state's price, because I told them I needed less than $20,000 a month, but the price that we're getting is actually a state price. So I will tell you that the CoCounsel platform and what it does will save thousands of hours across all of our departments. We currently have 140, well, we have the ability to have 147 licenses, which also means that we have 147 non-licenses that we have the ability to distribute as well. So if you look at what that cost increase is per license, it's about $12 a month would be the increase to make the change. So for those reasons, that's why I'm here today asking for permission to make the change.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about Westlaw? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
Motion.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great.
Thank you.
Mr.
Appreciate
Jameson.
your time, everyone. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, and we're gonna move back up to the top of our agenda. Items 2, 3, 4, and 5 are tabled at request of sponsor, which brings us to item 6, which is public hearing on proposed local law number U for 2024, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, providing for a change in the salary of a county officer during their term of office. Okay, Madam Chair, here to present on
Yes,
this?
this is the public hearing for the local law U, which is the salary component that is sort of married to, is it local law A? That is the underlying creation of the deputy chair position. So this is moving out the public hearing, and then we'll see if there's any need to revisit the underlying local law, which I'm assuming there won't be, and we would move it out next time. But this is just the public hearing for local law U, which is the salary component.
Okay, okay, so first of all, before we begin any discussion, just some housekeeping. We need to amend the date of the public hearing to August 26th, 2025. And the time to 7 p.m. instead of 7:15 p.m. So can I have a motion to make those changes? Mr. Reedy, Judge Feeney, okay. All in favor of those amendments to this resolution?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now, does anyone have any questions or comments on this matter? Okay, hearing none.
Move it. Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay. So the public hearing is set. Okay, items 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 are all tabled at request of sponsor. That brings us to item 16, which is local law number C for 2025. A local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending Chapter 270 of the Albany County Code regarding creating a real property tax exemption for construction of accessory dwelling units on existing residential parcels. Who's presenting on this? Madam Chair, are you presenting on this?
Do you mind just going through it real quick, the ADUs?
This would provide a tax exemption for creation of accessory dwelling units, which are, I believe it's up to $200,000, if I recall. And that it's only for the county taxes, it's not for the underlying municipality taxes, and the definition of what constitutes an ADU and all the requirements for it are still set by the municipality below.
And we've also already had the public hearing on this
Yep.
as well.
Okay. So, does anyone have any questions or comments about local law C? Had a public hearing? Mr. Purley?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Did anybody want to say anything?
I would like to be added as it goes
Can
on.
we-
Okay. Very,
Very.
note that. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
opposed? Great, thank you so much.
Just a point of information, does anybody know if any other municipalities are considering emulating this for either their town or city or school
I don't,
jurisdiction?
don't.
Thank you.
Can I ask a procedural question? Did we go right by 13 as tabling that?
All right, we will go back to 13. Item 13 is local law number Q for 2024, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, creating chapter blank of the Albany County Code regarding the creation of the Albany County Office of Assigned Counsel. Someone here to present on this?
And we also had a public hearing on this last night with 0
Okay.
speakers.
All right, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Shane Hugg. I am the administrator of the Assigned Counsel Program. We are seeking passage and ultimately going before the full ledge on August 11th to get final approval for the Assigned Counsel Plan. The Assigned Counsel Plan is statutorily required for us to exist. Our office provides financial assistance to indigent clients. So if you are in need of an attorney in Albany County and you cannot get assigned the public defender or the alternate public defender as a result of a conflict of interest, they are still entitled to counsel. Those costs historically were borne 100% by the counties, but through the Office of ILS, New York State's Office of ILS, the counties have received significant amounts of money to be reimbursed for the payments of counsel for people in family court, criminal court, and for post-conviction relief. As part of the requirements to continue to receive that funding, we have to come up with a plan. And the plan was developed in coordination with the county attorney's office, with ILS and the Albany County Bar Association. And it has met the approval of all of those folks. And the final approval we need is, of course, from the county to pass that as a local law. So we are seeking passage of that. We're hoping it gets out of this committee and can pass the ledge on August 11th.
Great, thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Madam Chair?
I just would like to compliment you. I understand this is a very worthy plan and appreciate all the good work that your office has put into this, and also want to compliment our current counsel to the chair for his work as well, but thank you very much.
I can take almost zero credit. That goes to Thomas and Judge Carter and County Attorney's Office for drafting and coming up with this plan. I came in and merely got it over the finish line.
Well, that counts too. so.
Yeah.
Thank you, though. And thank you, Thomas.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, can I have a motion? Ms. Plotsky, Mr. Reedy, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great, thanks, have a great evening.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Okay, so, where was I? So what is that? All right. Disregard 17. A Granicus error, shouldn't be on there. Okay, number 18, we're doing number 18, right? Okay, number 18 is local law number E for 2025, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, imposing an additional 1% rate of tax on sales and uses of tangible personal property and of certain services, and on occupancy of hotel rooms and amusement charges pursuant to Article 29 of the tax law of the state of New York. I guess as a technical matter, this is yours also.
Yeah, we had the public hearing last night with no speakers, and I'd like to move it out.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? Mr. Burke?
No, I was going to second it and say, I think this takes on a new significance as a result of what the chair has led us through with the recalibration of the mortgage recording tax and revenues to the county. And, you know, I personally have always supported the mortgage recording tax because I feel that it's a bit disingenuous to vote for a budget that's based on the mortgage recording tax and then take it away halfway through the year. So I'm going to vote yes.
This is,
Or, excuse
this
me.
is sales tax.
Sales tax, same thing. Mortgage recording tax, same thing. Same argument. So anyway,
Okay, now you said you seconded it.
yes.
I think what you mean is you're moving it.
No.
She's not on the committee.
She's not on.
No, I can't move it.
Oh, I move it then.
No, but you could second.
All right, Mr. Feeney will move it. Second, Mr. Feeney. Does somebody else have any comments or anything on this? Okay, seeing none. Motion, second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great. Carries. Okay, item number 19, local law number F for 2025, a local law of County of Albany, New York, enacting a mortgage recording tax pursuant to section 253P of the tax law of the state of New York. This is actually the mortgage recording tax one.
Asking to move it out. Paul's
You
comments?
want to move this one? Okay.
Move this.
Second, Mr. Feeney. Anyone else have anything to say about this?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Seeing none.
No, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, Mr. Purley, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'd just like to explain my vote, which is actually going to be a no, because I do see a distinction between the sales tax and the mortgage recording tax. I don't think I've ever voted for the mortgage recording tax since I've been here, and I'd like to be consistent. And the reason for that is I think it's a sensitivity I think we all share to the cost of affordable housing. In fact, I think the next item on the agenda, we take that up specifically. And I think the mortgage recording tax certainly can be justified insofar as the county provides as a service relative to recording and maintaining a list of mortgages. But we use it for a lot more than that. We use it to fund general government, and we do that on the backs of homeowners. And I think that's onerous, and I think that's unfair. And I think since it's also very much at cross purposes with what we're going to take up next. So if we're serious about affordable housing, we have to be very serious and sensitive to the costs that we impose on owning a house in Albany County. And for that reason, I would vote no.
Okay, duly noted. Thank you for those comments. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No?
Thank you. The ayes have it. That brings us to current business. Item 20 is the public hearing on proposed local law number G for 2025, a local law designating the development of affordable housing as a governmental and public purpose of the County of Albany, New York. Wanda?
Thank you.
Vice Chair.
First of all, this has been a long time in coming, and this is legislation that has changed over time. When we first started looking at this, which is really more like 3 years ago, we were looking at an old housing trust fund that was developed under Breslin. And so the more time we spent on trying to perfect what we were doing as far as this fund was concerned, what we realized is that we had to catch up with the times, because that housing trust fund was limited in what it could accomplish. And also, there was a changing dynamic in what the housing crisis was truly about. One of the things that I had to contend with was, going back, not this budget, 2 budgets ago, where there was different organizations that came in front of us asking for us to do something about this housing crisis and to put money, into a housing trust fund. The more investigation that we did, and the more we talked to other municipalities as to what they had done, we realized that that was not the answer. And so we talked to many different organizations. One of the things I noticed the man that was sleeping on State Street, after you cross, what's that street right there? This one right here, okay? He was sleeping in the doorway. Right, I'm not good at feet, but that's where he slept. So it wasn't just about home ownership. It was about homelessness or unhoused also. As you begin to talk to people over this time period, rent went up and income was not keeping in line with all of it. So the purchasing power fails to keep up with the increasing rent. And so the median income and so forth and so on. We began to look at home ownership and what that meant. And people can talk about how it's tied to generational wealth, But after talking to one of our family court judges, she also talked to us about how housing affects families and what happens when those people come in front of her in family court. So one of the things that we realized was that we have a huge job in front of us. So this is our first step, this affordable housing in Albany County. We're trying to offer stable housing because we realize that this is the key piece. This is a key piece on how we're going to live and how our young people are going to grow, okay? And that this right here is going to affect thousands of people. Not only that, because we do have $1 million as seed money, already we find that developers, banks, lenders, New York State, their interest in what we are doing is only growing. And what we're trying to do is develop a recurring and sustainable flow into that fund. And like I said, was a discussion that started well over 3 years ago, okay? And it started with the people, and it's just grown. And what we realized is that a housing trust fund was not the way to go. So this is going to be housed in the Advanced Albany County Alliance. It's empowered to address affordable housing and the development of this revolving loan fund to connect developers with financial advisory or educational assistance for the development of affordable housing and efforts to expand the housing supply. But the establishment of this reserve fund and the use of the portion of the unassigned fund balance to support the provision of the above initiatives. So what I'm asking you to support this because it is something that has been looked at, a lot of time spent on doing what we felt was the right thing to ensure that the legislative intent was clear, but not only that, trying to guarantee that we have a continuous flow and that we could sustain this housing fund.
Love to add to that before we get questions. Is that okay, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
So I love Wanda's kind of set up to this. Local Law G, I think of it as creating sort of the architecture of our housing revolving loan fund. This will establish housing as a public purpose in Albany County. It will also, much like the convention center, be paired with 2 resolutions which will articulate much of the details of the funding streams and also the mechanics of how the revolving loan fund will be operationalized. So those 2 resolutions right now, Council is drafting, and they're much in draft form, and we will be obviously presenting them. So, but I think about how this is kind of a 2-step process. This is the architecture of what we're trying to accomplish, which is to create a housing revolving loan fund under the Albany County Alliance that will function much like the ALTAC business loan fund that exists there, much like another parallel is the STAGE Act, where we will use that revolving loan fund for the purposes of housing that are constructed kind of generically in this local law and will be more specifically articulated as to the mechanics in the resolutions. The other final thing I will say, Wanda touched on this, a little more detail. The seed money, you think about how will we, because this has been a big challenge, how are we going to sustain this housing initiative in Albany County? We thought the revolving loan fund, the Housing Accelerator Fund, which other cities have used very successfully, was a great model because first of all, it's a revolving loan fund. The seed money is the $1 million that we set aside in the 2025 budget. So that's the seed. The other funding sources, we are working out details with the executive. This is a huge priority of the county execs as well. We're working directly with him, his deputy, as well as management and budget. There will be a sustained funding stream also, and more details about that, we're still kind of working it out, will be articulated in the resolutions. The other, and I think of it as like another hydraulic that will fund the revolving loan fund, and that will be the fact that we are creating through the revolving loan fund a receptacle for credit unions, banks, the state to also contribute into our revolving loan fund. So initially, it's going to be $1 million or, year two, whatever the number is, but over time, this thing will grow, much like the Altech Fund grew. I think it started at under $4 million, and now it's $19 million. So this is a mechanism where we can, because it's not just a revolving loan fund that kind of regenerates, but it also will be this nice receptacle. And one final quote that I love to remind us in one of our meetings with the Albany County Alliance. Remember Kevin O'Connor saying, if you put this under the Alliance, the banks will contribute. They will look and they will be very excited to put dollars in this kind of mechanism for housing, because every business owner, every actor in Albany County, policymakers, all of us, we know that housing is a priority, it needs attention, and this allows the county to articulate where we want this investment to go. It is countywide, it's not just for the city of Albany.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'll start out. On section 4C, it says this local law and the designation set forth herein shall apply to all housing initiatives within Albany County. Can you guys talk a little bit about what that means?
When you say housing initiatives,
Yeah, that's what it says.
well,
Wait, I'm sorry, what section are you in?
4C.
Oh, sorry. So, and this will, Thomas, why don't you come up right here? So this will be also defined in much more detail in the resolutions. But the initiatives that we are talking about are things like all of the initiatives that we've been discussing in the housing work group for a year and a half. Things like fund or low interest loans to developers who are choosing to develop workforce housing in neighborhoods in Albany County that the county is prioritizing. We're seeing lots of housing in places that are great in the city of Albany as an example, but we're not seeing this workforce housing initiatives, which are defined as like housing for kind of middle income, state worker, county worker kinds of folks. So that's an example of one purpose. Another purpose would be, think about the multifamily homes that you see in different parts of the city that are in disrepair or need certain investment in order to take a single or a multifamily home and do some improvements or rehabilitation that would turn two of the uninhabited apartments into housing that would then be on the market as rental opportunities. Again, in neighborhoods, think South End, think Arbor Hill, think other areas of the city and the county, the hill towns, where we could really use those things. Think about another thing we've talked about in the housing work group is the first-time home buyer tax credit. That is conceivably another example of what the revolving loan fund could contemplate making available, again, for owner-occupied first-time home buyers in certain parts of the county that we want to see home ownership grow. So those are just examples.
and the other thing is this too. Because it does look like it's broad to all housing initiatives within Albany County, one major complaint for people, let's say homeowners, okay, was if they went to specific organizations, let's say to, I don't want to call anybody out, but let's say to the city of Albany and to their fund to get dollars. There are some things that homeowners are not eligible for, and they wind up being shut out because they make $10 more, $5 more, and I'm not exaggerating, okay? Or they're told, as was told to me last week, oh, that's not a need, that's something that you want. Somebody who wanted needed new siding, okay? The other thing too that we realized when we went through the whole thing with Epic as far as renters versus homeowners, we're trying to begin to clean up all of that. We cannot do this without addressing not only homeowners, but also renters, and also the unhoused, also seniors, and also veterans. And this is what we found out over the last 3 years, which is why we moved away from the Housing Trust Fund. Just recently, I think it was last week, we had someone come in about the old church. Is that Church Street or Green Street? That church has been down there, I don't know how many years. But if you go over 787, you can look down in the roof that place, is just falling in, caving in. So we actually have a developer now who is willing to invest money, okay, into doing something with that building after all of these years and how the many times that it changed hands. I also understand conversation with small developers right now that the bankers think this is one of the best ideas that we can come up with and expands their ability to think outside the box. One thing we realize is that in certain neighborhoods, it's hard to get investment into, let's say, the South End or certain places in Arbor Hill, okay? And you hear the same comments over and over again. Well, people don't want to live there. They don't want to pay the rent. But the key is this. You can't keep building housing that people cannot afford. And so this whole intent of this is it challenges all of the initiatives that we know that need to be addressed. And because it has to do with sustaining that fund, that is what excites certain stakeholders, like the banks and like developers. So what it does, it gives a guarantee on their money, and that's how it's perceived.
Okay. Dr. McLaughlin?
I had to get downwind of that air conditioning, that's right, I moved. With all the conversation that's going on in the city regarding inclusionary zoning, I believe that this kind of initiative also will have a positive impact on reactions that we're going to get from developers, as has been continuously mentioned in the comments by the chair and the deputy chair. So I think that any opportunities that we have to affect housing affordability in the city of Albany, because we can't depend on the city to do it because they're not doing it. And so here the county has stepped up, and I believe that this is a real opportunity for them to engage, like they said, the financial institutions and the developers, which at this point in time have been running away from Albany. They don't want to do any business in Albany, they don't want to build anything. So if here's an opportunity to gain their interest, I certainly hope that we will get on board with this and support this initiative.
Okay, any other, Mr. Burley?
What guarantees will we have that there will be a resident of Westmere or Westerlo or New Scotland who also face a different type of affordability issue? I mean, in my district, the market is building houses that young families can't afford, and there's the real possibility that the school may shut down.
That's the
because-
beauty. That's the beauty of this whole thing. It just doesn't address a particular neighborhood. When I looked at this, one of the things that I counted on and I said over and over again, as far as the hill towns were concerned, we could not ignore them. That was a major part of my, of concern of mine, that we didn't leave out anyone. When you look at the financial status of Albany County, and if you really look at it really well, you will know that Cohoes is just behind West Hill. So, okay, it is just behind West Hill. We also know that there are different concerns as far as Westerlo is concerned in Bern. We're not trying to leave anybody out. And that's the beauty of this. We're going to ensure when that committee is set up that it does address the needs of Albany County.
I appreciate that, but the examples I gave were not necessarily low-income communities. They were moderate-income communities that still face housing affordability issues. So I appreciate that you say, okay, we have low-income areas of the city, lower incomes of Cohoes, low-income areas of the hill towns. What about moderate-income areas of the county where there is still an affordability issue that is manifesting itself in ways that are negatively impacting those communities as well? Is this going to be an income-based type program in which it would not provide relief for?
Those particular things that, I'm sorry.
Are you done?
Yeah, I have two other questions, sir.
Why
So
don't- Do you want
income-based,
them to answer your questions
Yes,
serially?
sure.
Okay.
Those needs that you are talking about, the basis of this fund is to make sure and ensure it's not restrictive, okay? We had to talk about the fact that we have so many people that can't afford the rents right now, okay? Like I said, when we talked to the judge from family court, what we realized that the housing crisis, it leaks over into all neighborhoods, okay? And so with this committee being set up, it's not going to be limited to just a specific group of people, but we're ensuring that many people have their feet underneath that table. And I wouldn't want it any other way. I take very seriously that I represent all of Albany County, very seriously. And we can't do this without the inclusion of all of us.
Okay.
two specific questions. Is it envisioned that this is primarily targeted, or the income or funds would go to developers or end owners or occupiers? Is it a developer?
Both.
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 Okay. And then in Section 5, it references grants, which implies that there's not a payback, which is counter to the idea of a revolving fund. So is this a grant program that would give someone money to?
You know what I can say to that? All of the questions that you're asking right now hasn't been set up yet. And that's the purpose of setting this up, so it is done properly, okay? And as we moving this into the alliance and developing the creation of this committee, your concerns will be addressed with just that, to ensure that we are talking to and speaking to the needs of the county as a whole. But there's no way you can just settle on the fact, oh, this is only going to be for low-income people. That's not the case. But you must address that as well as everyone else too. So that's not the.
Do you think this committee would have representation from all different geographic areas and, basically diverse interests would be represented on the committee? So maybe that would perhaps address some of the
Well,
concerns you're
so
talking
my question was about grant or loan, which is more structural, not necessarily who or where it goes, but
I think I might be able to answer your question, legislator. Take a look at, what is section 4.3? The undertaking of creation of grants, loans, and other support services tailored to expanding affordable housing. This is about, like, the grant programming is primarily designed to look at support services. One of the discussions that we had just a few hours ago was about services that developers do not currently have that sometimes causes banks to buck up and decide not to fully fund their projects because they haven't done a extensive analysis of, is this a $200,000 project or is it a $450,000 project masquerading as a $200 project? They don't have the ability to get those kinds of assessments. For programs that where that space is not available, the creation of a grant program is where we're going for that, for the addition of support services. It's not for the actual buildings themselves.
Can I just add one thing about, that puts a little example on the grant idea? One of the things that we did earlier this year, a couple months ago, the Navigator program, that was essentially when I think about a grant that would be useful for, say, a first-time home buyer population. It could be some sort of grant-funded program where you're educating first-time home buyers on, the down payment process, how you apply for loans, kind of basic stuff. So when I think about the grants, it's more like a toolbox of how do we address different populations who struggle in obtaining homes. And we hear a lot about young people who are working who can't afford to buy a home. Just imagine that the revolving loan fund committee says, you know what, this year we want to allocate, I'm making this up, $500,000 in tax credits to first-time home buyers anywhere in Albany County, in neighborhoods that meet certain criteria. Doesn't matter if it's Hilltowns or wherever. There's an income threshold. There's certain criteria that they would create. And then they say, you know what? We also know how hard it is for young people who've never purchased a home. Let's also allocate $75 to a contractor to help us attract this audience by putting on some education that would benefit them. I mean, I made up that example, but when I think about how a grant could be utilized, I think of that kind of example.
And the other thing is this too. One of the things that we realized in one of our neighborhood association meetings, okay, you have to have, in order to pour life into a community, you have to have mixed income. You can't just have one group of people, because people with a certain income bring certain amenities that lower income people need and don't have. So that is a tool to also talk about, as far as grants are concerned and what we're trying to build. Okay, and so, and I think that that's something that we stopped looking at a long time ago. We have to bring that back. So in order to sustain this, in order for everybody to feel like, okay, that's my neighbor, okay, I can see all of the issues that came up in my neighborhood association meeting with just what you're talking about. But we also began to discuss the amenities that went along with it and why it was important to address not only lower income people, but what the mixed income and higher income people bring to the table. So you got to think outside the box.
Okay, all right. The hour goes late, but sure.
I congratulate you on your aspirational nature for this legislation, and I would like to see it structured in such a way that it works. But I'm bothered by our new construct. We talked for years, actually, and even under Jeff's leadership, that we weren't going to bring things to the law committee and move them out until we had a much better sense as to what we are doing. I mean, I have a list of about 10 questions here that I will send the chair, the council, and I think some of them have been discussed, council to council, which I look at as threshold issues. You know, our history with housing in Albany County is like flying the plane and trying to build it and repair it at the same time. I voted for the quote-unquote the $1 million house because it was, I wanted to see Albany get that $1 million, and if the land bank was the best way to do it, so be it at the time. However, I got up and said that with 3,000 red X's in the city of Albany, $1 million per house could not be the template which you build a housing renewal program on. And I have not heard anything yet of any, I heard you say that banks are dying to subsidize
I didn't
real
say they were
property.
dying.
Well, no, you said they can't wait. They're so thrilled by having an opportunity. I'd like to know one bank who has said that, because I'd like to talk to them and share in that enthusiasm. Because I don't know anyone who's going to be putting up money for this, and I would like to hear from Kevin O'Connor. He's a business guy. How is this really going to work? Are we looking, you talked about all sorts of wonderful things, amenities for stuff in your neighborhood. Well, I'm still at the stage of how is this program going to work and be sustainable in Albany County? With a revolving loan fund that is going to require $100 million to subsidize any meaningful housing. So it's not $1 million. And the other thing that sort of scares me a bit is that we're talking about, one of the things that gave me solace with this was with the alliance, that we would be looking at developers that have proven that they can develop. They have banking relationships, they have track records, they have construction staffs, they've done construction administration, and they can build a 20-unit housing development. If all of a sudden we're saying we're looking to help people who have never developed a property before by giving them the tools and what they need to...
That's not what I said.
Okay, well, it sounded a lot like exactly what we've done for MBEs over the years.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay, well, I'll have to
And
go
it's a
back.
public hearing, by the way.
Okay, well, my point is, when you rolled out the convention center, you had two somewhat mature agreements, pieces of legislation that people could look at and get comfortable with. I'll vote to put this out in public hearing, okay? But I'm also going to ask these questions, and I'm going to ask somebody to have Kevin O'Connor come in and tell us how he thinks this could be work. In reality, real time, not aspirationally. How could it work?
Okay, we'll take it under advisement.
Okay, so let me say this, Paul.
Yeah.
The $1 million house, you can't keep going back to that $1 million house, okay? We changed the way in which we looked at how this whole thing need to be developed, okay? And so what we have to become is progressive, okay? And there were some things I saw in regards to that, but that money didn't cost Albany County a dime. Didn't cost us a cent. We got the money. Also, it went through the land bank, and they did what they did with it, okay? And so the blight that was caused by absentee landlords during all of that time on Second Avenue, that's what led to the decay of that neighborhood, all right? And so we just can't sit back and say, well, how is this gonna benefit so and so and so and so? Right, we gotta move forward. We have to come up with something. We already know that the Housing Trust Fund piece, that was not the answer. And there were some people that weren't happy about that. But that was because a lot of work, hours was poured into investigating, what was the best way to go. But right now, we want to move forward, okay? And I would appreciate, the support for this. And I just ask that, everybody continue to have an open mind.
Okay, Mr. Reedy?
I'll make the motion.
All right, second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. 21 is table that requested sponsor, so I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.